What is going on, YouTube people? Today, we are going to discuss the complete opposite things that are happening in the two primary entities in the card world. That is sports cards and TCG. Sports cards are, according to YouTube, content, etc., all went to zero. They're all going to zero. It's all overproduced modern junk. What are we all doing here? It's paralleled to death. It's a bunch of trash. It's gambler's paradise. What are we even doing with our lives? This was so 3 years ago. On the flip side of the coin, we have the land of the Pikachus, the Charizards, and the Black Lodi. TCG stuff right now is going crazy. Specifically, modern TCG. A lot of the old stuff is seeing sub-movement, but not as crazy. But, for example, the two newest releases in both Magic and Pokemon are doing extremely well. Surging Sparks and Magic Foundations. The recent Magic Marvel collab is doing extremely well on the secondary market and is super popular. There is a ton of joy, hype, and people rating Costco pallets, as you can see on the screen here, going on over in the TCG side of things. Why do we think that is? I have a general theory. I don't know if it's 100% correct or not. Its price makes up a part of the reason, but not all of it. No one really knows for sure. But Pikachu and Charizards feel like we are in the pandemic again. We have literal people raiding pallets to grab product of 151. I don't even know what the heck they're grabbing. It's something with 151 in it, and they're flipping it. They're like $40 for one of those boxes, and they could sell them at shows for like $75 or $80. So you have this kind of craziness going on, and this is recent. 151 just came out not too terribly long ago. These boxes just came out within the last couple of weeks. And meanwhile, on the sports card side, modern quarterbacks are going to zero. Wemby sucks. Bronny's an idiot. LeBron sucks. Everything sucks. Everything's going to zero. Juan Soto's leaving. Oh my goodness, this is the end of the world, is what's going on the sports card side of things. And I think what it, at least some of it, comes down to is, I'll just pause this for a second. The one thing that I noticed going to lots of shows, and I frequent some local gaming stores as well, and I go to, the Comic Cons, New York Comic Con, some of the biggest Comic Cons in the country. The audience for TCGs, and for the purposes of this, let's couch it in the Pokemon, is so much larger than the sports card world. You have not just white men in flip-flops and gym shorts. You have women. You have a metric ton of kids that are chasing both sealed product to open, and they want to collect slabs. And the other thing that TCG has that sports cards don't is it is ultimately a game. And the cards have value because they are good in certain decks in some cases. And prices will swing and move based off of the meta, or what decks, what cards are performing well in the current landscape. On top of that, you have certain characters that are heavily collected, that people want to have every card of certain characters regardless of how many other cards of that character that they have. In sports cards, as we've been talking a lot lately, it feels like there, and I don't want to say that there's less end users, or AKA collectors, than there were 3-4 years ago. I actually think there are more collectors now in late 2024 than there was before everything went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in early to mid 2020 through 2021. I have a sneaking suspicion there are way more collectors now than there were back then. A lot of people came in for the money. A lot of people left when the money went away. But a certain percentage of those people actually stayed because they realized, hey, pictures of cardboard with men on it and women in some cases and cartoon characters and people on my TV screen are actually kind of cool to just actually build a collection. Who knew? They weren't just $20 bills. They weren't just making 10%. Some of those people actually hung around. So I think we have more collectors now than we ever did. I have no way to prove that. This is just a hunch on my part. We also have way more gamblers on the sports card side of things, and that's whatever. If you want to come in and you want to buy in the box breaks left and right and spin the wheel, do your thing. The problem I think we're having, and it's one we've been talking about recently, is the supply. To go back to the video I did a week ago now, that their supply is a big stack of cards and demand is a little stack of cards. Because of the gambling nature, the number of gamblers in the hobby and the number of collectors is causing the companies to have to print a boatload of product to support the gambling addicts opening it, and then the cards eventually filter down to the collectors. The problem is there's not enough end users. We don't have the collector base on the sports card side, at least one big enough to sustain the crazy amount of volume that the companies are printing to feed the degenerate gamblers. So I think that's causing a little bit of problem. On the TCG side of things, you don't have that. You have the people chasing product for money. The percentage points, boys and girls. You have the end users, the people that want cards of Charizard or Eevee, I think is a thing, or Pikachu is the big one in this set. You have people that I collect Pikachu. They want them all. It's literally the saying of the game. Gotta catch them all. It's right there. They literally print it on the box for you. So you have people trying to catch them all. You also have people that like playing the game that maybe don't even collect cards. I know when I played Magic the Gathering heavily back in the day, I collected some Magic cards, but not many. You kind of rotated through whatever you needed for your decks as the formats changed. So, you would gather up a bunch of cards, you would hold on to those cards, use them for your decks for the couple of years that they were in vogue. Those sets would rotate out. A lot of people would purge those to people that played other formats that included those cards. And then you would jump into whatever the newest release is, and you would stay on that hamster wheel. There was that segment of players. And then also Pokemon has, which is where I come in, the sealed wax bros, or whatever you want to call us. The hoarders of cardboard boxes. The other day, one of my dealer friends, his son asked me, this was at the Fort Wayne show, or he was showing me some Pokemon cards that he picked up. And I said, right to his face, I said, I don't know anything about singles. The only Pokemon that I like to collect is a brown cardboard box with stop tape on it. That's the Pokemon I like to collect. And there's a lot of people that like to do that too. So you have those people in the play as well. Now you have some of all this other stuff in the sports card space, but you don't have the game element of it. You also don't have the broad appeal. When you walk the show floor at the National or a sports card only show, no offense to all of us, but you mostly see white dudes in their 20s to mid 40s to older. Younger generations got the Zion cases. Older generations got their notebook that they're digging through long boxes for, looking for their singles. On the TCG side of the space, huge audience. Yes, you have the middle-aged white dudes. You have little kids, both genders. I watch little boys and girls run up and buy packs of Pokemon like crazy. I'm standing at my one buddy's table that sells a bunch of Pokemon, and it's just a flow of kids constantly buying packs of all ages, shapes, races, sizes, everything. Then you have the other segment of the ones that are buying the PSA 10 slabs. They want to collect graded versions of those cards. Clearly, look at the TCG numbers that PSA puts out every single month. It's huge. All the grading company. I mean, look at CGC's kept in business by TCG. You have such a wide collector base. When you go to Collecticons, I've never been to a Collecticon, but I've watched some videos of it, and I've talked to dealers that have set up at Collecticons. A wide mix of people. You have, wait for it, no offense to the 3% female audience that watches my videos, but you actually have a decent amount of women walking around collecting, playing, and buying TCGs. As opposed to sports cards, they're unicorns. Why? Because 9 times out of 10, us idiots walking around treat them like a bunch of assholes. So heaven forbid a non-white male actually wanted to come into the space, we're probably just going to scare him off anyway. We're scary people. But demand right now for TCG is out of this world. The new Pokemon set, Surging Sparks, just came out. They usually release, you could probably get them in an LCS for, or LGS rather, or an LCS, anywhere between 110 and 120 bucks, $120 on release. Sometimes you can get them a little bit cheaper. It just kind of depends on the individual set, but most of the time they sit around that price. They go up on Pokemon Center for MSRP of like 160, 165 or whatever they are. Because that's what their MSRP is for. But the shops have some room on that. Usually the market price is around 100 to 120 bucks. This set was at $160 before it even came out. It's a Pikachu based set. The main chase is this thing. Pikachu EX Secret Illustrator Rare, or SIR, whatever. 500 bucks it's going for. They are ridiculously hard to hit. This card and a couple others are what's driving wax prices crazy. Boxes right now are currently sitting at like 160 to 170. It is like 3-4 days after release. This is unheard of in recent memory for Pokemon. People are going absolutely crazy for this thing. And the next set coming up is another character that everyone loves. Everyone's going crazy for that one already. And I'm just sitting here stacking boxes with stop tape on it. So TCG has a much wider audience, or more end users, or varied end users. There are different end users in the TCG space that we do not have in the sports card space. Now, one of those is not a fair comparison. There is no game based around sports cards. But because of the appeal of the characters and the game aspect of it and a few other things, it appeals to a much broader base of people. So you have more active individuals in that hobby. I don't know if sports cards can ever replicate that or not. I think because of the nature and the genre of that beast, that probably will never be the case. But right now, TCG is on absolute fire. Magic's doing very well as well. The Magic Foundation, which is the new set that just came out, their collector boxes are going to the moon. They're already up over 300. These just came out. I bought them a week ago at my LGS for $220 on pre-order. They're already up to 300 bucks. Now we see this with modern sports card wax. Right now, Topps Chrome Update is already selling for more than what it retailed for at Topps. So that's not too terribly different, but it's a little bit rare in this case for this price to accelerate that quickly in TCG. Now, are we in another bubble in the TCG world? Who the hell knows? Nobody knows. They're just lying to you. They're just making it up. They're just guessing. No one actually knows for sure what's going to happen next. But right now, TCG, specifically Modern Magic, and specifically Modern Pokemon, are performing extremely well. And the next 6 months worth of sets for Pokemon are insane based off of everyone that I've talked to that knows the space on the singles and the characters and stuff like that. I still don't know that stuff that well. There's this Pikachu set coming out. There's the Eevee set coming out. There's a Team Rocket set coming out that people are already losing their minds for, and it doesn't even come out until like May or June of next year. So Pokemon is set up to run for a while. Wizards of the Coast with Magic seems like, according to, like Rudy Alpha Investments and some of the other Magic YouTubers, have figured out the fact that collector boxes might actually should be collectible, and they're printing less of them than they ever have before, which is helping drive prices up on them a lot faster because they have the base versions of the boxes. This is, to put it in sports terms, collector edition boxes are like Breaker's Delight boxes. It's just all hits. It's all shiny cards and all hits. And then they have a what's called a play box, which would be like a hobby box. Most of the stuff is base. There's a few parallels you could get out of the box, but the collector booster boxes has parallels exclusive to that box, high-end parallels, etc. That'd be the best comparison I could kind of tell you. Magic collector boxes are Breaker's Delight boxes on steroids. You get a little bit more cards than you do in a Breaker's Delight box, but that's the general concept of it. You are getting high-end limited parallels and you're paying a premium for them, where if you don't want the shiny and flashy, you could just buy the base version of the card for much, much cheaper and much more easier to obtain. So you're basically paying for cosmetics, essentially, and rarity, artificial rarity, on the specialty boxes. So that's where we currently sit. I don't know if this is going to last or not. Like I said, nobody really knows. I'm continuing to execute the same plan that I always do when it comes to TCGs. I have been buying about a case of every Pokemon release for the last almost 2 years now. Unfortunately, I started right after Evolving Skies. Oops. But I do have some boxes of Lost Origins, Chilling Reign, Silver Tempest, Brilliant Stars, and they've all done extraordinarily well. And I have cases from most of the current Paldea block, and those have done extremely well as well. We'll see what happens. Crazy times ahead. Curious for your thoughts and comments down below. What are you seeing, especially if you're someone that kind of commingles with both sides of the tracks on the sports card side and also the TCG side? I will also add, I've seen a lot more TCG infecting itself in the card shows. I'm seeing a lot more Pokemon dealers set up at card shows, and you know what? They are crushing it. Crushing it. They are some of the busiest tables in the shows when I go to them, especially because there's only usually a handful of them. So they get all the traffic in the room that wants TCG. So that's all I got. Everyone have a great weekend. Catch you boys and girls on the next one. Peace.